Good morning. I'm Kathleen. Welcome to Hiking with Kathleen. So this morning I'm out here early because it snowed a little bit overnight and I'm looking at the tracks left behind by the wildlife. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at some of the tracks on the ground and see the story that they reveal about what these animals are doing through the night. Join me. When I look at animal tracks in the morning, as in the first one on the trail, I try to leave them undisturbed so that the next person can observe them. So I'll show you what I mean, because there's a whole series of tracks here, and I think it's a thrill for other people to be able to see them too. So here's where my tracks are, at the side of the animal tracks. And the great thing is, the people that come into the woods after me, they'll have a chance to see the tracks and feel they're discovering them for the first time too. When you stand still long enough, the animals kind of forget you're here. And sometimes that can allow you to just sort of blend into the environment and take more incredible shots or experience things because they just continue to do what they normally do when they think that they're safe and away from people. This is a pretty spot. It's so cold out here. You probably can't see that my lips are blue. It's not that bad. It's about minus 20 degrees Celsius though. But you can see that the steam is rising from the water because the water, of course, is much warmer than the temperature of the air. The water will probably get to, maybe 2 or 3 degrees. It gets warmer as you go farther down. But the air temperature is minus 20, so that's where it's losing the heat of the water to the air. Makes for a pretty effect. We're checking out the tracks of 2 coyotes. The reason we know there's 2 coyotes is because they each walk with their foot almost landing in front of the other. Now, the one at the top of your screen is a coyote that lifts its feet. The one that is walking to the left of it, or to the bottom of the screen, actually drags its foot. So they have their unique way of walking, just like people do. That's how we can easily recognize individual coyotes. So I also have another set of tracks besides the coyote tracks, and they belong to a cottontail. So I'm going to show you the tracks and you'll have a chance to see, perhaps get an idea of which way the animals were traveling. those are the rabbit tracks. And these coyote tracks are not as well defined as some of the others, so that might be hard to tell. But these rabbit tracks are definitely easy to determine when you look at where the hind feet are. The hind feet land first, followed by the front feet. So, sorry, that was wrong. The front feet land, followed by the hind feet. So that means this rabbit was heading towards the bottom of the screen. Lands on the front feet, the back feet catch up. And the back feet almost always land side by side, and oftentimes their front feet land not quite side by side. One is usually a little bit in front of the other. That helps to distinguish them from squirrel tracks, which I'll find for you a little bit later. Well, a calling card of sorts. As they travel along, they deposit scat in their tracks. So that's another easy way to be able to identify them. Compare the last tracks we saw of the cottontail to these ones of the squirrel. Squirrels land with their front feet almost always side by side and their back feet side by side. And they stop and dig. Oftentimes the tracks lead to trees. Things like that help us. And I found something that is the calling card, as I've referred to it before, which is scat left behind by mammals. So here's another one. This trail that I'm on is regularly used by coyotes, certainly by deer, and now we have some more scat. And we'll talk a little bit more about how we can identify this as scat belonging to a wild animal rather than, say, a domestic dog. One of the most important features that we notice on that is that the scat has usually some signs of hair, therefore prey that has been consumed, and usually comes out sort of ropey, kind of to a point rather than rounded scat, which is more typical of a domestic dog. So, but I'll show you other examples of that, and then you'll have a chance to see. And based on the size of it, it could be coyote or it could be fox, and those two are quite similar in size. Because the animals that the scat comes from have similar openings. So anyway, if I had tracks that led up to that that were visible to me, I could more readily identify it. But because this has been fairly heavily used by people and other animals, it's hard to tell what tracks have led to that scat. But it's another interesting sign that the wildlife that lives here has left its mark. So we have deer tracks and coyote tracks. We need to figure out which way these animals are traveling. It's a nice comparison right there, side by side. The deer track is on the left, and the coyote track is on the right. They're both headed the same way. In fact, they're headed towards the lower part of the screen. If you're ever looking for peace and quiet, I tell you, being out in nature, that's the ticket. It's been about 2 hours, 2.5 hours that I've been out here now. And I don't really feel like I want to head back just yet. It's nice. I found a spot that's sort of off the beaten trail. It's just me and the birds. And I did see some robins today, which is kind of interesting considering today is February 11th, 2021. So there's a whole flock of them. I came down here a few days. I recorded some footage over a few days. First day it was minus 12 degrees Celsius. Yesterday was minus 20, very cold. And today's back up to about minus 12. So this is really very nice out here. It's balmy. And I just want to give you a chance to have a listen. See what it is that draws me into being out here hiking in the woods. I'll leave you on this note. Thanks a lot for joining me today. I hope you come back and join me again next week to go hiking with Kathleen. Take care.